Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Texas Road. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, just what you're drinking, get your questions in, and
Red Bull Yellow Edition.
There you go. 74 days away from kickoff. So tell us who your favorite number 74 is. We'll come back, revisit that here in just a little bit because it's a loaded number. But today, guys, is an anniversary of something rather special that happened back in 2022. Arch Manning, fellas, committed to the University of Texas on this day.
Woo! That's big time. He has been the face of the Longhorns for the last year and a half, really, since Quinn Ewers went on his way. But 2026 is circled as the year, Jerry. And so he is going to be a guy that hopefully leads the Longhorns into the playoffs in 2026, has a breakout year, and ends up being, 1-1, 1-2, whatever number overall pick you might want to see in the 2027 NFL draft. Let's think about this. The trajectory of Arch over those 4 years, Jerry. First of all, this was his first ever tweet, I think. Right?
Oh, yeah. He's only had 5 cents.
Yeah. So his first ever tweet. So that should tell you guys that he was a little bit different than everybody else in recruiting. Then you also have the family connection, which you really can't get one that's more college football in the South or Texas than the Mannings, right? And then you see him go through, as Jerry calls it, he's the only person that's ever been built up and then ripped down in the recruiting process. And then he's also built back up before he even starts a game at Texas, or as a seasoned starter. And I think the young man's handled it with class. He's been a young kid. I mean, I'm not saying he's perfect or anything like that, but the decorum and the way he's handled himself in the ups and downs, Jerry, sure. Was he disappointed in his start to last season? Absolutely. Did he work himself through that? Hell yes. So the 4-year run of Arch Manning that started 4 years ago to this day, quite interesting and just how he's done it. I think it's been done the way, as a guy that's older now, it's been done in a way that you can appreciate and see the development overall. It's not just, Jerry, you always use the term add water instant player. Yeah. It's a progression, and I agree with you. I think he's done it a great job. 4 years ago today.
Yeah. Look, they handled their recruiting process like you would have expected them to. There wasn't fanfare from the Mannings themselves. This was his first ever tweet. He's had 5 posts on X since that time. There were never pictures in jerseys and doing all that. It was because they knew how crazy it would get.
It was a very muted recruitment.
Yeah. And look, it was one where everything they told the staffs, they followed through on. There was nothing hidden in this recruitment from college staffs. Nothing like that. Nothing that put college coaches in a tough position recruiting him, other than getting the phone call that he wasn't going to come their way. Friend and I, Bobby and a friend and I's, Rusty Manziel, who's covered Georgia for years. Rusty and I were talking one day and pretty much said was $100 million recruitment for the university that got him. And I think that's probably true.
It's probably turned out that way. Yeah. In retrospect.
And that's how big some recruitments absolutely can be, because unlike a basketball player, a Bronny James would be at a college 1 year. This is going to be a 4-year deal, if not 5, but most likely a 4-year deal. That's 4 years of the Manning family being associated with the university that Arch goes to. And then if he has success on top of it, it goes to a totally different level.
Jerry, someone just mentioned the day after he committed, Texas had 4 offensive linemen commit.
Yeah.
One of those was young Trevor Gooseby.
Yes, which leads us to who came in
Yes.
second in demanding recruitment real quick. Probably Georgia, but inside the family, it would have been Bama. But Nick Saban did the honorable thing and did not say he'd be there 4 years. He could not say he would be there the whole time. Arch Manning would be at Alabama. He actually said, I can't guarantee that.
Yep. Well, I think we talked about Trevor Gooseby in 74.
Yeah.
I think it's time we're 74 days away. So I was trying to segue into that. Do you have that graphic ready? The number 74s?
I'm always ready to go, Bobby Burton. You should know better. 74
Unless
days. Today's current number 74 is Trevor Gooseby. Well, man, guys, there's some good choices for 74.
Great choices.
Oh, boy. That stuttered right there is related to another stuttered, just so you know. That's a Longhorn lineage. He's a Casey. And then Doug English, All-American, first round pick for the Detroit Lions. Gene Chilton was All-American. Alan Ulatoski was in that late 2000s, I believe, run that Texas had with Colt McCoy. And then now Trevor Gooseby, look, there's a chance he's the best ever to wear 74 at the University of Texas. Would have never thought that like 3 years and 364 days ago. Would you, Jerry? You would have pinned that?
No, not like this high. No.
Right.
And look, he's one of these guys that's gone beyond even the colleges that recruited him. And, he was once committed to TCU. He's gone beyond even where Texas, all those people thought he would go. Look, he has a lot of upside, but you're never thinking this guy has a chance to be actually the number one offensive tackle off the board. We'll see how the season goes. Jordan Seaton's real competition for that. But Trevor Gooseby is, you talk about guys who have been model student athletes who have worked towards maximizing their ability. Trevor Gooseby is one of those guys. Also, something we're going to watch with Trevor Gooseby. Trevor Gooseby and Austin Gooseby, if both remain healthy, will both be first-round picks out of the University of Texas. One in football and one in basketball. And go ahead and raise your hand how many times that's been done, if you know how many times that's been done in college before. And from the same school. So a football player goes in the first, which Gooseby will with a really good season, healthy season. Austin Gooseby will be a future first-round pick, whether it's after 1 year, after two. Hopefully for Texas fans, it's after two. But they will both be first-round picks out of the University of Texas in different sports. Pretty cool.
Just want to say this. 74 is a pretty darn good number.
Yeah.
And University of Texas, you just look, you step back at that and look at that. A couple other guys, Bo Baker. Somebody mentioned Dominic Bustamante down from South Texas. Yeah, there's been a lot. Doug English is still around in Austin, I believe, doing his thing. But look, my thoughts on this is what we were 4 years ago into today. That literally, you talk about an afterglow or a follow-on effect, Jerry, of a guy committing.
Yeah.
I think Trevor Gooseby was likely headed to Texas anyway at that point.
Yeah.
But it certainly didn't hurt, and it certainly expedited, I think, the decision-making process. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, 4 years ago today, pretty big news. Look, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. I want to do that. Now, I also want to say something else here in a minute, but I'll start with this. Our friend Rick Vavro and the guys over at Texas Road, they are your full-service solution for major road projects in and around Austin with the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt. Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They're able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Again, your full-service solution for major road projects in and around Austin. That is Texas Road. Look up Rick Vavro and the guys there. They also have a sister company, Austin Underground, that does work underground if you need it for big buildings or other issues there. Again, Texas Road and Austin Underground, our friend Rick Vavro. All right, I want to say this before we get going too much further into it. I know it was a 4-year anniversary for our friend Arch Manning. Okay. But it's a 84-year anniversary for my father. It is, he is 84, turns 84 today, and I want to wish my dad a happy birthday. So that's to my dad. And then Blake, you have someone else's birthday it is today. And I want to say, you know, this show, at least for me, is dedicated to my dad. This one is. Okay, Blake, now you do your part.
Well, my mom would have been 61 today. So yeah, it's kind of crazy that one of our parents each share.
Yeah.
What are the odds? Very cool.
We're doing it for them today, though, Blake. It's for them. Yeah.
All right. And by the way, the poll's been running for a few minutes now. I'll let it run for a couple more. But Doug English is taking the vote for the most part, 57%. Studdard now has 34%. And then Ulatowski and Chilton down there in the single digits. But English seems to be.
You didn't put Trevor Grisby in there?
Now, Bobby, the question was, who was the best number 74? I can only have 4 options, so I had to word it like that for a reason.
All right, fair enough.
All right, guys. Well, today is decision day for a certain prospect. Right, Jerry?
Yes, Kyron Brown, Amarillo, Palo Duro, wide receiver. He of a state, 2-time state qualifier in the hurdles. Will announce his decision at around 1:30 today at Amarillo Palo Duro High Auditorium. Texas considered the favorite over Northwestern and Kansas State, by the way. I believe if you were on social media, I think he was celebrating his girlfriend committed to University of Houston, I believe, for athletics. So, you know, that is there as well. But Kyron Brown, a guy that, look, I'm a fan of this guy as a athlete, I'll say, because he drove down from Amarillo to Texas camp to work out for the Texas staff, and he bet on himself to get an offer because Texas liked him. They liked the film. We've talked about this ad nauseum, I think. Not a ton of foot traffic comes through Amarillo to all these high schools, not as many as if you're in Houston or Dallas. So Texas liked him. He bet on himself. He got in a car, drove down from Amarillo, worked out, ran routes, did everything that Chris Jackson asked of him. Texas staff wanted to see from him. Look at him pick up his knees. You can tell he's a hurdler. And he got the offer from Texas and immediately canceled a Baylor visit June 12th through 14th and got down to Texas for an official visit and headed into the announcement. We feel like Texas is the favorite here. We always wait for guys to announce their decisions in this crazy recruiting world. The other thing was he canceled the Mississippi State visit last weekend. So stayed home, which was, I think, another good sign for Texas. But we will wait for his announcement. But a guy that has, I think he's got real speed. And what I was told from his workout at Texas was his hands were exceptional. I think everybody knew he was fast. You can watch the tape and watch him pick up his knees and look at his track times in the 110 and 300 hurdles and know he's fast. But I think the thing was when he got down there to the workout, to the camp, he caught everything. And I think that really put it over the top. Is its attention to detail and the fact that those hands were snatching the rock out of the air.
It's a good sign. He made a great catch earlier in this film with his hands extended in the end zone, ball away from him, Jerry. That leads me to believe something similar to what you're saying there and how you're describing the coaches saw him during his workout. I think it's a great sign. I also would use, here's a term that we don't use a lot. You know how you have cliche terms in sports? Texas is a prohibitive favorite for Kyron Brown today. I think that's a big way to say that. I also like this, Jerry. I like it just continues what we've talked about before, how Texas recruits. They're not all in on recruiting rankings. They kind of march to their own beat. And I think you and I know that those are the people that are successful. It's not people that follow only one formula. It's the people that kind of move around and manage the system to their best effect. And not only him getting an offer, not only Kyron Brown, but Brandon Sherrard got an offer by doing something very similar. The defensive back out of the Houston area, Jason Johnson, last year, defensive tackle out of Atascocita. He's now going to make his decision or announcement, I believe, on June 30th. We'll go over those in a little bit. But my point being on all of these, I just like the fact that Texas is pulling from multiple areas. Yeah, sure. There's a John Meredith who's the number 1 or number 2 player in the state of Texas, top 5 player in the country. Okay, Kyron Brown is not that. He doesn't have that profile, right? But that doesn't mean Texas isn't going to do their homework and bring him in. You know what I mean? And so I think you and I, the one thing that we can say from years of covering Texas, that's one thing this staff does, I think, probably as well or better than any staff before it. They look under all the nooks and crannies, I think, to find players. And this is one of those, because it's not like this guy just came out of nowhere. He's a good player.
Right.
State was all over him, Northwestern all over him, a couple other schools.
Baylor,
yeah, all over him. It's not that. It's just you look at that list of schools, you don't automatically say, oh, Texas fits in that.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Also played defense. Last 2 male athletes out of Amarillo Palo Duro to sign with Texas, by the way. Montrell Meander in 2013 class in football ended up in the NFL. Had to go somewhere else, but ended up in the NFL. Then Justin Mason in basketball was part of Elite 8, Sweet 16 teams. Now does some announcing on the college basketball side. So Texas has signed 2 guys from Amarillo Palo Duro before, 1 in football, 1 in basketball. This would be a good time to bring this up real quick. This is a good question. Jake Hesser, 221. How do you feel about this class? Just based on who we're competing for these prospects, makes me feel like this class is very lackluster. I would say this: Texas is inside the top 10 class rankings, and if they have the next couple of weeks run like I think they can, Texas is probably going to be in the top 5 in the class rankings. So I'm not there. I think it's a good question. It's always a good conversation, but I'm not there. I think Texas is going to end up, in the reality for Texas class right now is there's two things. You have to keep Royal committed. And I'm not saying he's not, but I'm just saying from a class rankings perspective, he stays in the class. We know we have a good feel for some other pieces they're going to add. If they were to win out for either Callis Williams or Monshun Sales, they'll have the number 2 class in the country by August, by mid-July. I mean, so it's all right there. Just the reality of from a class ranking standpoint. There's class rankings, and then there's filling needs, which are 2 different things in recruiting. But from a class ranking standpoint, Texas is inside the top 10 with a chance to be inside the top 5.
I would just say this: the last several guys that have committed have not been over those schools. Brian Swanson was OU. Jabarius Rohr was everybody. I mean, he's committed to Alabama at one time, Auburn, Georgia, etc. John Meredith was over the world. It came down to A&M and Texas won out, but it was also Ohio State, USC, Notre Dame, Florida. I mean, just name your team. I think that people want or think, oh, well, every player should be like that. Well, that's not realistic. Not right now. And not in this day and age where a lot of people have NIL to deal with and can prioritize certain players over you. That has happened already in this class, where a Northwestern beat out Texas for Caleb Seiler out of Gunner. And they did it fair and square. I mean, they had a higher NIL package because of slotting. And that's something that Jerry and I have talked about a lot. There's tiers to this thing. And one guy may be a higher tier for another team than they are for Texas, and vice versa. Texas could be higher for some people than others. So I think that somewhat you have to look at recruiting in a new way in that category, right, Jerry? We've talked about this. And in others, you have to understand that they still are getting some of those big name guys. There's no doubt about that in my mind. I mean, just they keep winning on these guys. They're going to be fine. We need to mention and talk about Landon Williams Callis at some point again, because I wrote this morning.
We will.
Yeah, I wrote this morning about him a little bit, and I think Texas is moving in the right direction there.
Yeah.
Usually, Jerry and I have talked about this. Usually, there's a afterglow after an official visit, right, Jerry? You come out of it, and 24 hours, you're in love with this school, and it may be the team for you. And then all of a sudden, 24 hours after that, it's like, you first go out on a date with this girl, you think you love her, and then 24 hours later, I didn't like this. Well, I'm not saying that Landon Williams-Callis is in love with Texas, or I'm not, but there seems to be some stick-to-itiveness to this potential relationship. I think there's some possibility there. I'll put it that way. It's not Texas is not going to be just another hat on the table, which I think leading into the weekend, Jerry and I thought they might be. Texas will not just be another hat on the table. Not as of right now, at least.
I think the important thing from my perspective on it is I think there's maybe a thought, when somebody's on campus, they get an NIL offer and that's the end of it. I don't think that is the case at all with the highest ranked guys.
Yep.
I think the NIL negotiations continue from multiple fronts, and nobody's put up their final number.
Right.
And we'll see where that goes, but Texas will be very competitive there. And I think one person in his family has a vision, a possibility of vision of, if he picks Texas, he has a chance to be one of those all-time running backs there.
Yeah.
Whether that works out or not, who knows? But I think somebody has a vision of that possibility. So we'll see.
Rushed for 3,500 yards last year and 50 TDs?
Yeah.
Guy gets in the he was the district MVP in a pretty good district as a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Pretty good player.
Connor Mickelson asks, is there a necessary position in this class? For me, it's defensive back.
Oh, corner or nickel or safety, or which one?
All of it, by far.
Just whole thing.
Yeah, because, look, it's a new coach coming in with a different scheme and a different way they're going to play in the secondary. And I think that a lot of times when you come in and you change a scheme, how many of those players necessarily fit your scheme? And how many of those different guys are you going to recruit that fit your scheme?
Necessary position for me, Jerry.
Corner for me.
Okay. What is it? I would say receiver, but you can go to the portal so easily for receivers. Right? I mean, not saying they don't want elite high school receiver, but so that I think growing the offensive line and the defensive front is the key in this class. Now you want to add dynamite players that can score touchdowns like Easton Royal, like Williams-Callis, et cetera. But my point being, I think it's the offensive and defensive front.
I think Texas has to have corners that can play press, and when they get beat, can turn and run and close.
That's why I thought Cade Phillips would be a guy right out of the bat for Will Muschamp.
And safeties that can have true range.
Yeah.
That can go, that have range and go make a play on the ball. I think I just think there's so much when a coordinator comes in and the secondary philosophy changes. Those guys normally go recruit their guys.
Just dead on. You're dead on.
But it's like, I mean, I think defensive line every year in the SEC. Bobby, I agree.
That's fine. You get my point. I think it's if you take away the lines of scrimmage, then you ask me that question, and I would say DB too.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got some recruiting super chats that we need to get to. 214 Hook'em, has the ship sailed on DeSoto's Sarad Baker?
Yes. Yeah. Texas loves Noah Roberts. Landon Williams, Williams-Callis, they're in the fight on, and we'll see which way that goes.
And then some more recruiting super chats here from Texas Blake. Thank you, Texas Blake. Shouldn't class rankings be reevaluated? Seems like it really should be who has the best 10 to 12 in their class.
Ooh, and he's talking about Texas Blake's talking about now that NIL's there. What do you think, Jerry? I mean, but look, you have to. How many did USC sign last year? 30 something. Is that right?
Yeah. Here's the reason I say no. As somebody who's been part of, Bobby, you have too, for years, national recruiting rankings. The reason I say no is because of that. I mean, you
just have more lottery tickets. It's like because the more tickets you buy at the 7-Eleven, the more likely you're going to win.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, I'm just being real as somebody who did this. That means you're basing everything on prospect rankings, and I'm not sure that's the way to go. I've never liked that being the formula for class rankings because that is not realistic. And look, I've done this. Bobby, you've done this. But here's the reality for us in this business. You can know who's really good, but you still don't see everybody.
Yep.
That's the problem, is you don't see everybody. You can see huddle tape on 1,000, 2,000 guys, but you might see 700 of those guys in person.
Let me ask you this is a point, though, right, Jerry? Think about this. How many people have seen Kyron Brown in person play that are national recruiting people?
Yeah.
This many. Zero. So, yep. I mean, you were mentioning guys from Palo Duro, okay? Ziggy Hood was a first-round draft pick, defensive tackle from Palo Duro.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a defensive tackle. He came out when I was doing national recruiting rankings.
Yeah.
I never saw him play.
Right.
If I would have seen him play, I can tell you, a 300-pound dude that moves like he does, I probably would have ranked him high.
Yeah.
You would have too, Jerry. But he played at Palo Duro. We didn't make it to Amarillo. You know, we were too busy in Dallas and Houston, right? Or in Atlanta or Orlando or South Florida or Chicago, or LA. So there's that piece. And then I just feel like that it still is an inexact science. And so wait a minute, I got somebody showing me I've got to look at something. Oh, did it happen?
Double checking, but the chat seems to think it did. Yes, defensive lineman Tyler Alexander just committed to Texas, fellas.
Hey, Jerry, you thought this might happen, my man? Put a little note on the board this morning, I think.
Yeah. He was one of my highs from Sunday. And there's a reason we put that note out this morning. But yes, Tyler Alexander commits to Texas. I was told, look, I've been to see him twice at Palm Beach Central. Big time upside player. The thing to know about kids from the state of Florida, and this is not a knock on coaches down there. The coach does a great job there. Palm Beach Central plays good people. It's not the setup like Texas and Georgia. They don't have the same booster clubs, athletic periods. It's just not structured the same. So when you see a big guy by the way, the fields are not good. It rains a lot down there and they play on a lot of grass fields. I always say this about kids from Florida on their huddle tapes. First thing to look at is the fields they play on. But so this is a guy who is a really good football player. He has a first-year D-line coach that's a really good player. That was a really good player at Ole Miss. But Tyler Alexander's best football is way out in front of him. But he's got a frame you can't teach. He's 6'4.5", 315. Kind of the skinny ankle look about him for a 315-pound guy. I love where this guy can go as a player. He had a great visit. I talked to his mom at the airport after the visit, and it was pretty much a done deal at that point. He had a call with Will Muschamp and Kenny Baker yesterday that finalized everything, but he was pretty much already committed to Texas when he left, and that's why he was a high. That he had pretty much told Texas he was coming at the end of that OV, so it was just a matter of when he was going to commit. But he committed to Texas over Georgia, Colorado, and Notre Dame. Second defensive lineman in this class. Texas is leading big for Jason Johnson. If they can get Jason Johnson the boat, then they're in a great position because they have 3 guys and they can go hunt at that point. But Tyler Alexander was pretty much a commitment coming out of his Texas visit, so he was a high. And I think he's got a lot of upside. And I like any prospect that gives me a reason to go to South Florida. So he's my favorite player in the class. Make no mistake about it.
Well, look, this is big time. This could be a week of commitments for the Longhorns.
Yeah.
By the way, it's a lot of guys, but this is big because a lot of people. Somebody sent me a note saying, "Oh, well, somebody said there was a 0% chance Tyler Alexander would be going to Texas," and I said, "You might want to check with Jerry on that." So good job, Jerry, for promoting that on TexasFootball.com. Look, the big pieces here for me with the defensive line, and this is one of the reasons I was talking about it earlier on positions of need. I think that they're long bake positions. We've talked about it. You have to put them in the oven and let them bake. That's what Charlie Strong used to say. There are certain positions that might have immediate impact. Corner, to your point, Jerry, might have. Running back, wide receiver. But, man, on the offensive defensive line in the SEC, it's hard. Yeah. Yes, there has been a Kelvin Banks, but there's been one Kelvin Banks.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? There hasn't been, at this point, a true freshman that's come in and just dominated. Like Lance Jackson played really well last year, okay? But he wasn't just immediately a full-time starter.
Yeah.
People need to understand that these guys in these positions, their body's still developing at a rate that's just huge, in my opinion.
Especially kids.
And by the way, boom, Tyler Alexander.
Bobby, especially kids in Florida. I mean, like I tell the story all the time about these kids because it's so different than Texas or Georgia. I saw I went to Monarch High to watch Calvin Ridley back in my ESPN Under Armour days. He was going to play in the Under Armour game, so I went down to see Calvin Ridley work out. He was 158 pounds as a 19-year-old. He was 182 pounds when he played his first game at Alabama. It's like Tyler Alexander, and I was talking to Hank at the airport, and I was like, this before and after photo of him is going to look crazy. The photos we took of him now, photos I took of him at Palm Beach Central, are going to look crazy different in a year and a half.
Yep. Because
he's going to get into a college strength and conditioning program, and he hasn't been at North Shore. He hasn't been, and it's no knock on Palm Beach Central. Coach does a great job there, but you're limited in that state. You're limited by funds. So you don't have the funds. That kid's going to look physically is going to look totally different. You should see, Myron Charles kind of had a freaky build in high school, but even looking at Myron Charles then, I was looking at an old photo versus now when I saw him in the spring. Those guys blow up now from Florida. It's crazy. A really good upside prospect. Look, defensive line, any guy that Texas, Kenny Baker and Muschamp, Georgia, Trey Scott and Kirby Smart, and they would have taken a commitment from him, and Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame. If those guys are recruiting you, that says something about your upside as a defensive lineman. And I think he could play over the ball or as a 3. I think he's got 3 athleticism, but I think he's going to have over the ball size strength too. I think he's a couple of years down the road. I think this guy's got a chance to be a player. He's got to go get it done. I could tell by talking to his mom, she was ready to move to Austin, by the way, after that visit. She could really see her and her son in Austin.
Some people, I'm just laughing. Unbelievable. That's good news on a Tuesday. Maybe it can be 2 for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
2 for Tuesday. Kyron Brown coming up 1:30. Tyler Alexander, man, I don't even know what to say. Do we need to do an ad break so we can all just breathe for a minute?
Yeah, so I can finish making this commitment graphic. That would be great. So, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone this morning about our friends over at Zen AI.
Yeah, I can do that, Blake. Thank you so much. Look, Zen AI, this summer, don't just watch the game, vibecast it. Zen AI is the home of vibecasting, a new way to capture and share real sports conversations. They're a new advertiser here for On Texas Football. We appreciate them. No studio, no fancy gear. Your phone is the whole setup. If you're arguing about who should have taken the last shot, you want to break down every play, hit record, talk it out, and Zen AI turns that convo into a sportscast that you can share as clips, reels, even TikToks. An AI producer works behind the scenes, cleaning up your audio, cutting highlights, and helping you tweak edits just by chatting in plain English. Go live while the game's on or record your hot takes after. Jerry can be doing that, man. Bring your own co-host or find another fan in Zen AI's network. This summer, Zen AI is paying new Vibecasters to launch their first sportscast. Humans are the talent. AI is the infrastructure. Zen AI is invite only. Head to zen.ai to join the waitlist. That's zen.ai or tap the link in our show notes. Again, zen.ai. Thanks for the new advertising here at On Texas Football.
Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Mark.
Well, this is perfect because Mark Saunders normally has the recruiting breakdown ad. So when it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Here's some great news. Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. He's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Are you in good hands? You'll be in great hands with the more than 35 years of experience of Texas alum Mark Saunders. Again, if you're looking for someone local to the Austin and Round Rock area or the entire state of Texas, give Mark Saunders a call, 512-218-8571. He's the type of guy in the insurance world that would have 70 to 75% on a Tyler Alexander commitment, not zero, the morning he commits.
Rocky P, I guess this guy here said, what did I miss? Who booms? Tyler Alexander.
Defensive lineman out of Florida. Jerry, give us height and weight. That sort of thing. The people he was recruited by.
6'4.5", 315. Picked Texas over OVs to Georgia, Notre Dame, Colorado. I believe Colorado had the highest NIL offer. He visited back then in May. Colorado's super aggressive on defensive linemen from the Southeast. They haven't got him. Ben Javarius Shoemaker stuck with Ole Miss. Alexander just goes to Texas, but guy that has a lot of upside. Originally from around that Treasure Coast area, Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie area, moved down to Palm Beach Central. But a guy that has a lot of upside. Good feet, kind of has that skinny ankle look at 6'4.5", 315, which we like in this world. But a guy that I think physically is going to look totally different in a year and a half. Totally different. I think he can play three. I think he can play over the ball.
Okay. All right. Well, we got some more super chats after that breaking news there. So let's go to this one from Jay. We're going to stay on the recruiting note for a moment. Jay Lee says, some claim that Easton Royal has not gotten his NIL proposal yet. Apparently it happened this weekend. Can you confirm or have any intel? Same with Kamara.
Ismail Kamara. Hey, look, Texas doesn't rush to put these out, guys. I don't know how to explain that to y'all better than that. Some teams try to make that the starting point with what they do. That's how they even get guys to campus. You think guys from New Jersey are just wanting to go to Texas A&M? I mean, there couldn't be two more different places on this earth. And so some lead with that. Texas does not. And so where they're at in this NIL world right now is Easton Royal has an agent. A good one, by the way. A really good one. And Texas has dealt with this agent before. So I don't see the consternation about that. And I think Kamara probably understands that as well now too with his. Because the guy that's helping him has been through this rodeo before as well. So I don't see that as any issue, JL. I just don't. And I know people are wanting, well, did it happen? Did it not? For Texas, like with Landon, I try to explain this. With Landon Williams-Callis, this weekend was not about NIL for Texas and him. It was about whether or not he fit. I mean, look, if you're going to invest that kind of money, because that's the money in Eastern Royal, the money in Kamara, the money in Williams, got those significant sums. The first goal is to see if they fit. And if they're worth what you think you might want to pay them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
same with Monshon Sales too, by the way, Jerry.
Yeah. By the way, I'll say this again. I think I continue to hear he had an amazing visit to Texas. What does that mean? Could mean a lot or it could mean not as much. But Sales had a great visit to Texas. He was very popular with the Texas staff because of how attentive he was. The young professional kind of got some Kelvin Banks feels from what I was told from Monshon Sales, the maturity, young professionalism, looked you in the eye the whole time, could recite back what you were talking about, wasn't kind of wandering, sometimes paying attention, sometimes not. He was extremely impressive in a Kelvin Banks way this weekend to the people on the 40, talking about Sales. But Landon Williams-Callis, to Bobby's point, look, Texas has been through 3 running back coaches. And you do have to navigate that. Now, Jaluk had offered Williams-Callis at Florida, but he wasn't recruiting him super heavily at the time when he was at Florida. They're recruiting him, but it's not the same as when you're in an A&M or Texas and you can get on campus 2 times during a season, 3 times during a year. But that one is, from an NIL perspective, Bobby's point, it was, all right, where are we at with all this? What do your mentors think? Because remember, the person closest to Landon Williams-Callis in this recruitment is somebody who's been through it. Michael Lewis, who is from Rosenberg, Lamar Consolidated, played at Colorado, was an NFL All-Pro. He really is valued, from what I'm told, people around him, and Jaquiz Rogers, who's been through this, James Rogers, who's been through this, Jaquiz coaches at Fort Bend Travis right by. They all live within 10 miles of each other. They've been through this player-coach relationship on the college level, on the pro level. And I think Texas was way behind there because they've had so much turnover. But I think that was why the weekend was big, to Bobby's point, is everybody on the same page here? If everybody's on the same page after the weekend, then we'll get to the NIL discussion.
That's why I'm trying to say Texas does not, and this is where people just, when Oklahoma has 20 plus commits before Texas is even out of the gates, well, what then? Texas is messing up? Not necessarily. Texas is finding the right people for Texas. That's why I used the term deliberate yesterday to describe Sark's recruiting process and Brandon Harris. It's deliberate. It's not haphazard. It's deliberate, and I think that it works for Texas. Not saying a different style doesn't work for A&M. But or OU or LSU, etc. But I think that we all would look at this right now and say, I like what Texas is doing athletically on the football field. Don't we? I mean, yes. That's my point. I mean, Texas is as talented as they've been in more than a decade. And that is directly as a result of Sark and the style of his recruiting, as well as NIL, as well as other factors. It being the University of Texas certainly helps. But my point being, you can't sit here and say, oh, I wish we did it this way, or why hasn't NIL already been brought up? Because they want to know whether or not he's a fit. And they want to know whether or not he thinks he's a fit, too. I mean, it's why you're not going to go chasing your tail either, right, Jerry? I mean, it has to be a two-way street. And I think that as of right now, at least, we think that is a two-way street with Landon Williams-Callis. Now, that doesn't mean somebody else isn't also going to be impressive. But of the schools he is considering, I would tell you that from a running back perspective, nobody has not the pedigree, what's the name of it? The background with running backs that Steve Sarkisian does. Nobody. They don't.
And by the way,
the history of producing them.
Texas already has a really talented running back in this class too, and Noah Roberts. So
right.
And I would say they're 2 totally different types of running backs. But you know where they're both really good? Catching the ball.
Yeah. They both can run, man. What did Williams Cows have 10-4, 10-5, 100-meter?
Right, 10-6, just as he's gotten bigger. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, we talk. I think Maurice Jones-Drew, the more I've thought about that, is frame-wise maybe like his closest guy. I looked at a little bit of that. Hey, by the way, Blake, what's a good time to bring up the announcement schedule?
Yes.
Because Tyler Alexander, by the way, I'm going to go watch him work out in about a week. I'll be down there for a little, so I'm going to go watch him work out. But so we have Kyron Brown today at 1:30. Dylan McGee at DeSoto is tomorrow night at 7. That's SMU, Texas, unless Penn State pulls the upset there. June 25th is 2028 quarterback Neiman Lawrence. We feel good about that. June 26th, Junior Tupou out of Thompson High, originally from Clearwater Central Catholic in Florida. We still feel good about that. Alabama tried to make a run there. He's also visited Auburn. Montre Jackson, June 27th. We feel pretty good about that. SMU's the competition. I think SMU they only want one high school corner in this class. So it'll be interesting to see if they pull off one of those guys. June 28th, Jason Johnson, Atascocita. We feel good about that right now. July 1, Brandon Sherrard will be an interesting one. That is LSU versus Texas. LSU had a huge lead going into the weekend. There's a feeling around the 40 that they did a good job and they have a legitimate shot in that recruitment. And obviously everybody's not on here. Like we've heard July 10th around there for Monshun sales. These are subject to change. He hasn't put out a date. And there's going to be some others that are early before that second week in July that we don't think have announced dates yet. So that's where it's at. Kyron Brown, 1:30 today, will announce his decision, and we believe that's Texas right now, big lead over Northwestern and Kansas State.
And that June 25th is a high school sophomore going to be a junior, by the way, on your list. Neiman Lawrence. I just want to put that out there, make sure everybody understands that. He's a quarterback that Texas has identified for that recruiting class. Texas, historically, as y'all know, Sark tries to find one or two, maybe three quarterbacks in a class and kind of pinpoint. The one he's pinpointed for 2028 class is Neiman Lawrence out of South Florida.
You there, Blake?
Yep. I had myself muted as I was typing. I had learned my lesson from yesterday. All right, guys, we got more super chats, more questions, more things to talk about this morning. But before we get to those, I need to tell everyone about our sponsor, and that, of course, being Prize Picks, because we're in the dog days of summer. It's not only heating up outside, but in the sports world as well. You know, obviously, baseball is in full swing. WNBA is rolling, and millions of people are watching the World Cup. So every possession matters, every at-bat matters. You're locked in from start to finish when it comes to Prize Picks. You're not just watching anymore. You got a little juice in it. And the best part is it's so easy. You just pick more or less on player stats. You build your lineup, you submit it, and you're good to go. It takes maybe a minute tops. And you can go across any sport as well. That's what makes it great. Baseball, basketball, golf, soccer, esports, MMA, whatever's on, whatever season it is, it fits. And we are back on that World Cup action again today because, hey, we hit both of them yesterday, guys. And I am going to show y'all our picks for today. We got the most popular man in the soccer world, Cristiano Ronaldo, to have more than half a goal. But we're also taking England star Harry Kane to do the same. Both will have multiple chances to do it today. Both are star players, so we're locking it in. We're trusting our gut. That's exactly what you do on Prize Picks. You make your picks, lock it in. Now every single moment actually means something. Don't forget, Prize Picks is available in all 50 states, including right here in the great state of Texas. So if you haven't jumped in yet, now's the time. Download the app. Use code HMA when you sign up. And then when you play $5 in lineups, they're going to give you $50 in lineups instantly. That's code HMA at Prize Picks. 5 get you 50. It's as simple as that. As always, play smart, play responsibly, play Prize Picks. All right. So as I said, we got more super chats this morning, guys. Recruiting ones, team ones. But going back to the whole 74 thing, oh my God. I was wondering where you went during my Prize Picks read. You're muted, I think.
You're muted, Jerry.
I could literally puke on air because I had a Red Bull to start the show, and now I'm having the corn dog with mayo after that.
Well, that'll be a viral moment.
I may puke on air before 9:30.
That's okay. That'll go viral. The viewership it'll help. So take one for the team.
I will.
Scarf that bad boy down as quick as you can. Miracle Martinez with the super chat says Hall of Famer Doug English has kept many of us alive with spinal cord injury as president of the Lone Star Paralysis Foundation, a hook 'em and Lions legend. Very cool.
That's good stuff, Miracle. Thank you for posting that. I'm not as familiar with Doug's work off the field. And I was he's about 5 to 7 years too early for me to know his full ability at the University of Texas. But happy for that. Can we ban Jerry? That's a question from Josie. Love it. Sherrard at Shadow Creek. Mr. Stewart checking in.
Yeah.
Doing well. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, this would be a good time to talk about Chris Stewart. Mr. Stewart, your son, I was told Sunday's been very impressive in Austin since he's been there. His work has really caught the attention of people it should catch the attention of. He's impressed down there, so be proud. Kid's working his ass off and doing a good job. And if anybody wants to know about Brandon Shore, there you go, DM him.
I'm sure he appreciates you telling people that.
Chris is doing really good work down there.
All right, guys, we got more super chats this morning. All right, here we go. We dip it in mayonnaise every time.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Texas on my mind. Are you guys on record that Texas would actually take both Royal and Sales? Bobby,
yes.
Immediate, yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Can
they get both is the question.
Right.
Would they take both is absolutely.
Yeah.
Our next one this morning comes from Drew. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate you as always putting in the super chats. Good morning, OTF. Will we ever see college athletes have incentives written in their contract? Welcome to the 40, Tyler. Hook 'em.
Some have already tried to do that, Drew. Some have actually already tried to do that. And it's not surprising in many ways. But I think it's technically illegal at this point, or those sorts of deals aren't supposed to get past the NIL Go folks. Who knows what will end up happening, though, would be what ends up happening. But you're not supposed to do that. I think that they probably should do something like that. The problem with it is this. If you negotiate up front for what your deal is, you're going to want your deal guaranteed, right? Unless you're a backup, which means, if somebody gets hurt, I want to go up and be paid like the starter. But the deal has to be done before the season. So a team has already allotted starter money to a position, and then the person behind them also wants starter money. Well, the guy that got injured isn't taking less. So it kind of throws all of that out. There's a lot of nuances to that, obviously. But I think it's hard for us. It's hard for me to see how that would work. But it may be the future. I don't know.
Here's a question I have. So the universities can now wear a patch. They could have a, Tesla patch or something on their jersey. Not on the jersey, but does that mean a player can now have advertisement on his body?
You mean like a tattoo for Tesla?
No, like Arch Manning wears a Viore wristband.
Oh, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. So it's technically illegal.
Is it always going to be, though? Because aren't players in one of the next things? Say, hold on. So the university can advertise on their uniform. Why can't the player advertise on him?
Because they can't by rules. They'd get thrown out of the game. It's against the rules of the game, your uniform rules.
Or I guess I'm saying it's going to be challenged at some point.
Oh, sometimes. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to try, but there's a reason they don't do that in the MLB, NFL, et cetera.
Yeah.
Some more super chats this morning, and my apologies. I should have brought this one up when the commitment happened, but Bobby, I'm going to let you read this super chat.
Boom. Tyler Alexander is committed to the University of Texas. Defensive lineman out of South Florida. Big pickup for Texas.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, look, I love how it tied in. A couple things. I love how it tied in with what we were talking about just moments before, where I said I think the lines of scrimmage need to be priorities for in the high school recruiting classes, because that's where you can get and build depth. So I love that happened. I also love the fact that Jerry put out a little note on the board this morning before we got going on it as well. So
yeah,
good reporting, Jerry Hampton.
Yeah. And thank you, Foster.
That deal was done. It was just when it was going to be announced. It was actually done Sunday.
Let's get to some team related ones, guys. We got a couple of team questions here. And Trish says Sark had 3 years from Arch's commitment to build a strong offensive line to protect him last year. Why didn't that happen? Seems like the ball was dropped. Hopefully year 4 is better, says Trish.
I think that Texas, in my opinion, misjudged some of its talent on the O-line a year ago and the age of them and their ability to take the next step. I believe that. I also think that the use of Cole Hudson at center and forcing that didn't put the best 5 on the field at the outset. The best 5 on the field would have had Connor Robertson at center with Cole Hudson playing left guard, which is where they ended up at. So I think there were a couple of misjudgments there. One, the young players didn't step up the way they wanted to, in my opinion, and they weren't a cohesive unit. And then 2, I think that they finally landed the last half of the season on the rotation that was best. Now, Cole Hudson may be a better center than Connor Robertson. That was never the question. He won that job over Connor Robertson. But what was the best unit? Putting Cole Hudson at left guard was the best unit with Connor Robertson at center. And I think they figured that out halfway through the year.
Our next super chat comes from Spanish Steve. Thank you, Spanish Steve. He says pros and cons if Arch stays for one more year.
Con if Arch stays one more year, the season probably didn't go great.
Yeah, season probably didn't go right. The other con would be you're probably looking at a transfer from KJ Lacey, just realistically.
Yeah.
Can't really think of any others. I mean, look, if he keeps improving and he comes back for an extra year, more power to him. I mean, I think that would be huge. I just don't think it's realistic. I mean, I know people are saying, well, every Manning has done this. It's also a different time. He also redshirted. He'll be graduated from the University of Texas this time next year. It's a little bit different age of college sports nowadays. So I even though Sark said, look, I haven't talked to him about it. That's all Sark was saying. This hasn't been a subject of conversation. So anyways.
And then we got one from Rocky P here. Thank you, Rocky. He says, my name is Rocky and I'm an addict. Has anyone figured out a way to go to the co-op and not spend at least $200? My wife says it's like my target.
So Rocky, I have a problem with the co-op as well.
Well, here's the way you spend less than $200. Only buy socks
or hats. Like that's the one thing when I go to the co-op, I give myself the liberty to buy one hat. That's what I do. I'm like, if I can just get out of here with one hat, and if I need a new T-shirt, I'll give myself the new T-shirt thing. But I'm a hat guy, so
who's the first person? It probably will be Mike Gooseby, the father of Austin and Trevor. Who's the first person who's going to get the personalized Texas Gooseby and Gooseby football jersey for this year.
Oh, it could be a football and basketball half jersey.
Yes, there's an idea. Gooseby and Gooseby.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be a good jersey because they're both going to be first rounders.
We got a comment here from Angry Bevo. Says, shout out to my wife. Underwent surgery on her C3 through C7, and she's up and walking and getting back to it less than a week out. Texas spine and scoliosis. Angels on earth. Prayers and hook 'em.
Good luck,
Yes.
Angry Bevo.
Absolutely.
Dealing with a loved one that is going through some tough stuff can be very difficult on everybody, but especially for that person, and supporting them is huge. Hey, Jerry, you mentioned the NBA draft. That's tonight, right?
Yeah, it is.
When is the whole Dylan Swain?
Yes, Swain is
Going?
I think he's 22, 23, 24. 76ers have been talked about a lot with him. Could he go 8, 17, 18, 19? I guess it's always possible, but I see him more in the early 20s. And look, if he needs to just go in the first round. That's a big lick for Sean Miller now. I mean, that's a guy that was not highly ranked, was a high three-star prospect out of high school. And basketball evals, by the way, are much more farther along than football evals because the best play against the best all the time. And the cream of the crop guys are, those are dudes who are going to be one and dones. So it's different evaluation levels than football. It's an easier evaluation in hoops from a national perspective. But this would be a big lick for Sean Miller because he was a guy that went to Xavier, wasn't nationally recruited, and he ends up being a 3-and-out and first-round pick and follows him to Texas. And Sean Miller, when he got to Texas, they had a decision to make. Was it going to be Dalen Swain or Ryan Conwell from an NIL perspective? Because Louisville went big $2 million plus, 2.5 on Ryan Conwell. And Texas at that time wasn't in a position to put both of those guys on a roster. And he picked Dalen Swain. And at the time, national people were like, whoa. National people that cover basketball like, whoa. That's a pretty good and Conwell's a really good player, probably be a second rounder, but I think Sean Miller's a really good evaluator, guys. When he can watch these guys through high school, I think he's a strong evaluator. And this will be if he goes in the first round as expected, this will be a nice lick for Sean Miller from an development standpoint, something to call on for future guys.
What I wanted to say real quick is this. So when he first went out into the draft, Jerry, this is talking about Swain, everybody said 20-ish, right? Yeah. For his pick. Yeah. And now you're saying 18 or 17, 18 to 23. So he hasn't improved his stock exponentially down.
Going into this season, he wasn't even on draft.
Oh, no. I mean, I'm talking about when.
Yeah, no, I think as a player, he is who he is. I think he's going to be a good role player in the NBA that will continue to improve as a shooter, but he'll never be a first or secondary scorer in the NBA. I think he's probably a fourth guy in the NBA, really good role player off the bench. So I think he is what he is as a prospect. And I'll say this, even if he'd return, I'm not sure how – it's not like he'd have vaulted into the top 6 or 7 or 8 of a draft. That's not there for him. Could he have gotten to the back end of the lottery? Potentially. But he was a first-round pick, and I agree with the decision. I think he kind of who he is as a player right now, and I think that leads him into the early 20s.
He's going to be a glue guy in the NBA.
Yeah.
At his best, that's what he will be.
Playmaker, will defend more when he doesn't better when he doesn't have everything on his plate. Like people to this day I don't think they understand unless they really followed Texas basketball and really follow the game, how much he had put on his plate last year in the SEC. Like he was the playmaker, he was the most versatile defender, he was the go-to guy for Texas. I mean, he carried a lot on this team, like more than players. It's like Cam, like a cuff boozer. Not many guys carry as much on a team as Swain was asked to carry.
Hey, DeBensa from BYU or Darren Peterson from KU are supposed to go 1 overall. Just give people a sense of that. Is that right?
The top 10 of that draft, I think, is great. Like great draft. DeBensa, DeBance the boozer. I don't see it, but you never know. And Darren Peterson, even though I think he's got some question marks around him. I mean, I think DeBance is the safest pick there, but doesn't mean he's going to be the best player. I mean, I think Acuff's going to be a stud in the pros. Absolutely.
What about Dusty May making the move from Michigan to the Mavs? Comes out later that day that John Shire, the Duke coach, turned the job down.
Yeah.
At least it's reported that he did.
I think the Mavs got the better coach. I'll tell you that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. But what Dusty May, there seems to be some thought that maybe Michigan might have some issues.
Yeah, and that's why
there's a lot of while the getting was good.
There's a lot of scuttlebutt out there. I mean, I think there's two big ones. Does he like the AD?
The athletic director?
Was he on the same page with the Michigan athletic director and where things were going? Potentially. Then there's always going to be, hey, somebody was doing this or that in the portal. I mean, a lot of times when guys leave, it goes back to AD and support and kind of not being on the same page with the athletic directors, especially a move that quick. But what a meteoric rise. 27 months ago, he was coaching at FAU. 27 months ago. Now he's the coach of the Mavs. That's pretty crazy to think about. So congrats to him. But I think he's a better coach than John Shire. I think the Mavs actually got the better coach.
Well, we got time for just another question or two. But before we get to that, Bobby, will you tell everyone one more time about Texas Road?
I could absolutely do that. One of our favorite people, Rick Vavro and his team over at Texas Road. They are your full-service solution for major road projects in and around Austin. With the full support of multiple crews performing utility, dirt work, concrete, and asphalt, Texas Road provides on-site concrete through volumetric trucks for smaller volumes. They're able to complete road building in a high-profile environment. Again, Texas Road is your full-service solution for major road projects. Rick is also an entrepreneur at heart. I want to mention this. Don't forget about the Lone Star Bar out in Jonestown. If you're out by the lake out there, stop by. All of his beer, 27 degrees, kept it 27 degrees. Nice and cold, especially on these hot summer days.
All right, guys, we got a super chat here that just came in a minute ago. This one from Dre. Thank you, Dre. He says, fellas, taking the Ohio State game out, which Texas home game is must attend, in your opinion? I'm itching to come back to my second home at DKR. And I'm going to put up the schedule here. Which home game is must attend minus the Ohio State game?
I mean, it's one of two. It's Florida or Ole Miss, depending on what you want. Well, I mean, Arkansas at the end, it's a rivalry game, but I think Florida or Ole Miss.
Well, I think Florida, they're going to try to exercise some demons, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be Ole Miss, because I think that Ole Miss still to this day may have the best 1-2 punch in college football at quarterback and running back.
Yeah.
And I've said that. I know I've said that and beaten a dead horse on that, but it's true. They have the best 1-2 punch, in my opinion, in college football in Trinidad Chambliss and Kejuan Lacey.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Ole Miss.
I think Ole Miss's fan base is going to travel. Florida's been to Austin 2 years ago. I think the Ole Miss is going to travel on this game too.
Yeah, they will.
It's the Manning family. It's Manning weekend in Austin. That Ole Miss fans haven't been to Texas since when was that 2014? So a lot of them students were young, and also a lot of kids from Texas go to Ole Miss.
High school kids, yeah,
high school kids go to Ole Miss. I could see that one. Yeah, I was going to say something else. I better not.
I would just add the fact that it could be a night game.
Yeah.
Like there aren't many night games this year for Texas at home.
Yeah.
So there's only like three possibilities. Ohio State, UTSA, those are done. Those are definite night games. Ole Miss could be. Mississippi State will be, even if it's late afternoon. So there's only a chance for 4 night games, night home games.
Yeah.
Hopefully Ole Miss is one, because I think that would be rocking.
Yeah, I'm guessing that'll be a pretty big party scene on 6th Street too.
Yeah.
That'll be a pretty, if it's still 6th Street for the kids.
Hey, you're doing a good job here, Blake, putting that scroll up at the bottom. We need to mention that for people that are just joining us because we've got a lot of people on. Texas got a commitment today from Tyler Alexander, defensive lineman out of Wellington, Florida. He commits to the Longhorns over Notre Dame, Colorado, Georgia. I mean, you name it. A lot of people wanted him. Big pickup for Texas.
Yeah. And one more time, since we've had a lot of people join, we're waiting on another decision as well. Jerry, I'll let you recap that before we get out of here.
Kyron Brown, Amarillo Paladuro makes his announcement at 1:30 p.m. today. That is Texas, the favorite over Northwestern. Kansas State, one of the top hurdlers in the state. Also really talented wide receiver that came down, bet on himself, worked out for Chris Jackson in Texas, and earned an offer on the spot post-workout. Texas liked him. They got him down. He got in the car from Amarillo, drove down, bet on himself, had a great workout, came back quickly for his OV. We do believe Texas is the favorite over Kansas State and Northwestern headed into this decision.
Well, that is going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Texas Road. I want to, as Jerry finishes his corn dog, I want to thank Texas Road, along with Zen AI, Mark Saunders, and Prize Picks for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well and joining us this morning and all the great super chats. Bobby, you got more for people later today. What you got?
Yeah, absolutely. We got a recruiting breakdown. Jerry and I are going to do some talking about Tyler Alexander as well. Then we also have the Kyron Brown announcement at 1:30. Don't forget that. We'll definitely have that for y'all. And then this evening, we have another live stream. If you want to join in and talk about the day's happenings, please do that. Yes. What's the dog's name, Jerry?
That's Lucky. He wanted some mayo.
He wanted some mayo. I want to say again, happy birthday to my dad. So anyways, June 23rd. 4 years ago today, Arch Manning committed to the University of Texas.
Yeah.
And today, Tyler Alexander. So
there you go. Well, we hope you all have an outstanding day today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live. But remember, we can't be on here all the time, so head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Right now, we have a limited time offer, and Bobby says it's not going to last much longer, so take advantage if you haven't already. $3 for your first 3 months. That gets you all the way into, September now. So all the way into football season. That's ontexasfootball.com for new subscribers only. 3 for $3. Go take advantage. And, of course, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em horns. Congrats.